So I'm taking this intro like 2 weeks later because I don't know what happened with the audio on my video. But you'll be seeing me draw this, and yeah. I also did my first digital painting. It's right there. If you want to go take a look at my Instagram, that's where I posted it to really look at it. I don't know, but that was my very first digital painting, and I'm so excited to start filming the process of my digital paintings. So my Instagram will be in the bio. Check it out. I'm starting with the circle for where the brain is inside the head, and then I'm just drawing 2 lines on either side for the jaw, a circle or an oval on the side for the side of the head, the side plane. Then I drew a line in the middle for where the eyes are, and then a line down the center for the direction of the head. And you can see it's a little curved because a head is not, it's a spherical shape. And then I drew that eye box, which I got from Angel Ganif. It really has helped me a lot. It's kind of like a trapezoid, and then a triangle in the center for the nose and the bottom plane of the nose, because it kind of faces down. There's a top plane and the bottom plane, and that's really helped me a lot. And then I drew the centers of the eyes, which are kind of in line with the corners of the mouth. And then I just drew the line for the angle of the mouth, which should be almost at the same angle as the eyes. Then I drew the overall shape for the lips, the size I want it to be. This is not going to be the shape of the lips, but this is just the size of where it's going to be seated on the face. A circle for the chin and the bottom of the chin. And then I'm kind of seeing where the ear goes, I think. No, I guess where the jaw starts going down at the angle. Then I'm going to be connecting it to the bottom of the chin. I don't really know how I measure that part. So Angel Ganif always says start with the nostrils first, and I've been listening to that, and it's really been helping a lot. I'm going to put a link to his page in the bio, or the video on him drawing noses and eyes. He's really helped me a lot. So he starts with the noses to kind of get like the angle of the nose. I mean, he starts with the nostrils to get the angle, and then he starts to draw the wings of the nose and the full nose instead of just starting with, the point. So the nostrils kind of give the direction of where the nose is facing. So as you can see, one nostril is bigger than the other one's smaller because she's tilted to the side. And then I draw the side wing of the nose, and then it kind of scoops down because there's the ball of the nose right there. And this was his thing. He doesn't have a name for this shape, but it's the bottom plane shape pretty much, where you have the nostrils and underneath the tip of the nose. And then I wasn't really sure. So I kind of was trying to draw her nose exactly how I saw it in the picture, which is kind of bad because her nose may look like that, but it's not really aesthetically pleasing. So I feel like I really needed to make the tip of the nose maybe a little bit bigger or at a different angle, because you could draw something exactly like it is in the painting or in the picture, and it looks weird. It looks like you messed up. So feel free to change things. You don't have to draw it exactly like the picture. You want to make sure your drawing is aesthetic as well. And then I just drew a little indication for the bottom of the septum. And then the angle for the eyebrow bone. And then I started to draw. She had a bump in her nose, and then it went down quite a bit. But I feel like it kind of looked like too much. Maybe I did the angles too much. So I erased that a little bit and just made her nose straighter because I felt like, I don't know, not that it looked better, but it was just more aesthetically pleasing because I didn't really draw those bumps right. And then I added some line weight to the nostrils because those are the darkest part of the nose. I really shouldn't be drawing any of this as dark as I'm drawing it, but I wanted to show up on the camera. So make sure you draw everything really, really, really light because I'm going to be erasing and you can still see my lines underneath. The only really dark part should be underneath the nostrils. Then as you can tell, the eyebrow kind of comes to a point where that brow bone starts. So it's not like a box over the over the eye. It literally comes to a point where that bone is. And I noticed that on a lot of people, most of their eyebrows do that. They come and connect to that point where it's going towards the nose. And then you almost can't see the arch. So when her head is tilted like that, it's not an extreme tilt, so you can see the arch a little bit, but it's pretty much all just that front part of the eyebrow. Then I drew the bridge of the nose, and I just went out and then back in. I also learned that from Angel Ganef. And drawing a little bit of hairs in the beginning of the eyebrow, because that's where you're going to see the most detail, because there's fewer hairs right there, so you'll actually be able to see the spaces in between the hairs. And then I kind of just block in the rest of the eyebrow. I don't really like to draw every single hair because I'm not going for a realistic effect, and even so, I just don't really like that. I really do like the shape of her eyebrow though, how it's kind of like a square at the beginning and then the rest is pretty much the same shape. But as you can see at the top of the brow, I drew in the arch. You can see it comes down at the end just a little bit, so you can still see the arch of her brow. Then I just drew the bottom of the eye because I think I made that eye box a little too big. Or is that the center of the eye? I think I ended up moving everything because it was too low. As you can see, it's like really low on the nose. Yep. I took out the eyebrows completely, moved them up a little bit, drew them back in. And I really liked those eyebrows. And this is why I like drawing in Photoshop, because if you like them, you can just like literally move them up. You can keep all of those same lines and just move it up a little bit. It's really exciting. I'm so excited to draw more in Photoshop. So I moved the eyeballs up more too. So I drew in the whole circle because you really want to know where that eyeball is, where it starts, where it stops, and know that you're drawing around a spherical object. You don't want it to be flat. And I feel like that really helps me to not draw such a flat eye, is drawing that eyeball in there, knowing that I'm drawing the skin that's wrapping around it. And then those are the planes of the eyes. Another thing from Angel Ganef, he has 3 planes, one for the inside, the front, and the other side. Then I just drew, you see the beginning part of the eye, I went up, and then it's wrapping around. The middle plane is straighter, and the last plane is tilted down a little bit more. And since she is tilting her head, the other one's going to be wrapping around even more. And the, what is that part called? Corner of your eye, it was sitting like right behind her nose, and I couldn't see it in the picture, but I just decided to add it in there because I feel like it might have been a little weird if I didn't. So I just took that took that liberty to just add it in there because I felt like it might look a little bit better, because it doesn't need to be exactly like the picture. See how it's wrapping around, and since it is a side angle, you're going to be seeing the inside of her eyelid just a little bit. You don't really have to add that in, but I like how it looks. I think it's really cool that you can actually see in the photo the inside of her eyelid. And then I drew the pupils. A lot of people do top eyelid, bottom eyelid, and Angel Ganef, once again, he always says draw the top eyelid, then the pupil, and then the bottom eyelid. And I feel like that has been helping me a lot because it makes it less flat, because once again, I know I'm drawing around a spherical object, and I feel like it helps me with the proportions too. I draw the top eyelids so they're in line with each other. Then I draw the pupils, make sure they're the same size. The irises, make sure they're in line with each other. And then I draw the bottom eyelid and make sure they're in line with each other. So I'm working from top to bottom. And I feel like I made the the iris on the left a little bit too small, but overall I made the eye a little bit too big. As you can see, I think the eye on the right is a little bit smaller than the one on the left, which is wrong. They should be about the same size. If anything, the one on the left should be smaller because she is turned. But regardless, the irises should be the same size. Those aren't going to change. They might change in extreme angles, but pretty much those are the same. So that eye on the lip does need to be smaller. And then I'm drawing the eye crease, and you can see I'm not following exactly around the eye because that's not how it was in the picture. That's how her eye crease looked like. And I feel like it adds another dimension. You can see that it's wrapping around the eye. So it really looks like her eye is coming out like it's a 3D object now, because you have different planes for the eyes and different planes for the crease. And that crease on the left side is going to be tucking behind the eye. You won't see where that ends because of the angle. And then there's just kind of a swoop up. You see how it sticks out and then it goes up to the eyebrow because the eye is the most inner part. The eyebrows are sticking out farther than the eye. If you touch your face right now, the bulge of the eye, the very center, is sticking out, but your eyebrow's sticking out further than the eye socket. So you want it to go in, down from the eyebrow, and then go in towards the eyeball. Now I drew the center line for the mouth first because so I can get the angle, which is the most important. So I'm not drawing the lips all looking upwards and the eyes are looking down. Then I start with the little ball in the center of the lip. I always start with the center of the lip because that's my foundation. That's how I'm going to make either side accurate, I guess. I went up a little bit and then back down because she kind of had another ball on the side of her lip, and either side there was like 3 little balls. So I go up and then back down and around that ball into the corner. And then you can't really see it going up that much on the other side because it is turned and the lip is shorter. So I just went up just a little bit and then back down around the other ball. And the lip on the left side of the lip is much shorter than on the right side because of the angle. Then I draw the Cupid's bow. I really need to start finding pictures of people with different lips. I feel like every time I draw a picture, they all have these kind of like perfect looking lips, and I don't do it on purpose. I don't like draw perfect lips on purpose, but I just keep finding these pictures where I like the angles and their lips are always so perfect. And as you can see, the side of her lip kind of goes up and then it curves over. It's not a perfect curve. And now I'm drawing the bottom of the lip. I start in the center. And since she's at an angle, the further side of the lip is going to be darker. So I do want that side to be darker than the one that's facing towards us, because you will see that whole line of the separation between her lip and her cheek that's behind it. And on the other side, you won't really see that separation so much. The skin could be blending in with the cheek. So I probably should have done that a little bit lighter, but that's okay. Now I'm just trying to get the angle of the face. Where does the cheek connect with the chin? How far does the chin come out? How far does the cheek come out? So I can kind of see that the chin didn't really come out that far. And then it went back in a little bit where the mouth is. And then the cheek did come out a little bit. So I kind of got that angle just by drawing that line, which helps a lot instead of just starting at the top or starting at the bottom and drawing one straight line. It's the angle, so you can see, oh, it's a little further out, or maybe the chin's a little further out. And I finally was starting to realize that the eye was looking like a frog eye, and I don't think I ever made it small enough to where like as it should be. Another thing, like in Photoshop, I could have just resized that eye down a little bit because I like the lines, I like the shape, but it needs to be smaller. Add some eyelashes in there, so that darkness that I added was just the eyelash line, because if there's eyelashes right there, it is going to add some darkness, some thickness to the line. I realized her chin was a little too big, so I wrapped it in a little bit. It was also a little bit too boxy. And then I did like an indent, and then it came back out for the draw again. See how big the side of her head is? That oval probably should have been bigger because her whole side plane of the head it's showing. Not all of it, but it is pretty big. Like the front of her face is almost 50% of this head that I'm drawing. And I just did a few eyelashes. I only drew it on the left side because you can really see the eyelashes sticking out at that angle. And I didn't want it to look too fake on the other side. So I just drew kind of like a little triangle. What is this? I'm drawing a highlight. I don't think there was a highlight in the picture, but I feel like that makes it a little bit more real because people like to take pictures in lighting that's just really even, so it doesn't really give a lot of reflections, but I feel like it makes it a little bit more real. And as I noticed when I was drawing in Photoshop, that I didn't like when I made the iris black. I made the iris a same color as the I didn't like when I made the pupil black. I made the pupil like in the same color tone as the iris. I made it darker but not fully black, and I feel like that looked a lot more real instead of just like an animated drawing where you can obviously see the pupil of the eye. So right here, as you can tell, I didn't even draw a pupil. I just shaded the whole thing in the same color, and I feel like, and then obviously I did some shading at the top because the eyelid will be casting a shadow onto the eye, and I feel like that made it look a little more realistic than just those pupils predominantly sticking out. You're really only going to see pupils do that intensely if you have really lightly colored eyes. And this girl is black, so like her pupils aren't like predominantly sticking out so much because she has brown eyes. So I figured just shading the whole thing in would make it look a little bit more realistic, even though I'm not really going for realism. And then I just put some shade on the left side of that brow because it is turned, so it's away from the light. And as you can see, I indented a little bit above the eyebrow and then came out for the forehead because the cranium, wherever that brain is, it sticks out a little bit further than right above the eyebrow. And then the eyebrow sticks out further than the forehead. So it has to do kind of like an indent and then come back out. And then as you can see, her eyes are kind of in the center of her head. That's not always true for everyone, but that's where I kind of got the idea for the hairline, is I kind of measured like, oh, the eyes are right here in the center, so this is where the hairline should be about approximately. And then the ear, I just sped up along for this because it's not really tutorial for the ears, and I'm really not good at ears, but pretty much generally, if they're not looking down or looking up, the top of the ear is going to be in line with the brows, and the bottom is going to be in line with the nose, I think. So I think I made her ear a little bit too big, because if she's looking down like that, then the ear should be up higher. The ear shouldn't be as low as the nose. Then she wasn't wearing earrings, but I decided this needed something. I didn't want it to be just a face floating in midair, and I realized I didn't, from my experience of drawing hoops, because I think I used to draw a lot of hoops when I was in high school, girls with hoops. I know that the front plane is going to disappear, and then you're just going to see the back plane. And at first I wasn't going to draw the hair, but when I was looking at this, I had only been practicing hair for like 2 days before I drew this, and I was like, you know what? If I'm scared to do it, I need to do it. So I decided to draw the hair. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. You see how the jaw doesn't completely connect right there? Because as you can see in pictures, it's not going to have such a defined line like that unless it's looking from the front view. On the side, it's going to look like the skin of the neck is connecting to the face. So you don't want to draw that line all the way completely close to the ear. Drew the neck down, and the size of the neck is almost the same size of the head. So I feel like a lot of people draw the size of the neck. I'm just drawing the major muscle of the neck right now, just because that's usually casts a big shadow, and it's a very predominant feature on most people is that muscle right there. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people draw the size of the neck a little too skinny for the head. Your neck is thick because it's supporting your head. Your head is heavy, so it needs to be thick, and I feel like it might even be better to draw a thick neck than a too skinny neck. So as you can see right here, it's almost the same size as the head. That's just her shoulder sticking out because her head is tilted down and to the side. You can't really see the side of the neck, but as you can imagine, the neck is almost the same size as the head, and just the cheekbone is sticking out past the neck. Yeah, I just drew a little box so you can kind of see. I think she was wearing a jacket or something, so I just drew that line of where the jacket folded around her skin, so it looked a little bit more 3D. Yeah, now I'm starting to draw the hair. So I start with the major shape. She was wearing a bun, and her hair's really curly. That's, I think, why I was a little bit scared, because curly hair always seems like it has so much detail, but really, now that I realize, all hair types have the same amount of detail. It's just the major shape, the shadows, the highlights, and then strands of hair. When you look at curly hair, you really don't need to draw all that detail to make it look curly, and I'm glad I'm starting to realize that. So I drew the major shape, then the major 2 pieces of hair that are hanging down in front of her face, and what did I start doing? I don't think I filmed me doing the process of the whole hair, because I didn't think I was going to do it, so I just made sure I wanted to find where that bun was. So I drew the sides of the hair that were connecting to the face and the direction of the hair, so it's wrapping around her head because she has it tied in a ponytail or in a hair tie. So I wanted to show the direction of the hair that's wrapping around, and then the bun is going to be a different plane. That's going to be going in all different directions, but the hair that's on top of the head definitely has a specific direction. So on the side, it's going to be wrapping around and up towards that ponytail, and then on the front, it's going to be wrapping back and around towards that ponytail. Just drawing a few more curls that you can really see. Oh, and then I came back in and added some more darkness to the places that I thought were the darkest. And I think the lips are defined way too much. She kind of looks like she could be wearing lip liner. So if I could do this again, I would have started with way lighter lines. Say I do some shadow on the top lip, because usually the top lip is more shaded than the bottom, and then there's always a shadow on the bottom lip from that top lip. Always a shadow in the eye sockets, because the eyes are sunken in more, in the corner of the nose. Also, that line underneath the ball of the nose is way too defined. Really, on a nose, you just need shading, but I wasn't going to do a bunch of shading on this, so I just did with more line work. Added some highlights. I feel like that made the eyes pop a little bit more. I really like the eyebrows. It's probably my favorite part. Yeah, I think this is finished. Oh, no. I was like, oh, this is too boring, so I added some gold. My paintbrush is so trash. I don't even know. I've had my paintbrushes for I don't know how long. So many years. I went and bought a couple at Blick, and I spent like $100 on 3 brushes. So I'm like, I don't need to buy brushes for a while. And this wasn't one of them. This is some old. So that's the finished product right there. I just did, yeah, the shading on the hair, highlights, and individual hairs. The frizzy part of the hair sticking out because it is curly really helped. I know all the YouTubers say this, but if you like the video, please give it a like, subscribe if you want. I don't know what helps more, really, but I would appreciate it, because you know how it is to be a struggling artist and connecting with people, and you really have to promote yourself to make it. Selling my art is my dream, so if you like this and want to see more, do that, and follow me on Instagram. Peace.